around long. I'm actually just doing a test because I'm going on a trip next week, and while I'm on the trip, I want to be able to record. I actually had some issues with the computer that I'm recording on. Like I had to get it fixed or repaired, hard drives replaced, all that stuff. So I'm trying to not build out my thing in OBS like I had last time because that took a lot of time. And if I ever have this issue happen again, I don't want to have this happen. So I'm actually trying out something new, and it's called Riverside FM. So I'm seeing how everything looks, how it sounds. If I get any comments, how does the interface work with that? I typically use Ecamm Live on my other computer, but I'm just trying something new. So I'm going through the motions, seeing how the comments look, if I get any, and seeing how this screen recording option works. Because I don't know, man. It's finicky. But anyway, not gonna waste no time. Let's go ahead and do a quick reaction to Skap Attack video, and just test this out and see if everything works fine. Yeah, I don't like this already. All right, let's get into it.
Well, just another day and another stray. Fired at the late, great Kobe Bryant. Yet again, friendly fire as a former Kobe ally has seemingly turned adversary. This time coming from alleged big Kobe guy, Paul George, who had Jim Jackson on his Putrid P podcast to throw some slander on Kobe again, bringing up Game 7 of the 2006 first-round series against the Phoenix Suns. The one where Kobe quit on his team, or so everyone would have you believe, including scrub-ass Jim Jackson, who was actually on that Lakers team and scored all of 1.3 points per game in that 7-game series. But he was asserting that Kobe just stopped trying in that game to prove a point or send some kind of a message.
So I think Kobe at that time, and I don't want to talk for him.
Yeah, and I actually covered this briefly in a video that I just did on Tracy McGrady. Actually, it's out now if you want to check that out. It should be the most recent video on the channel after you subscribe. By the way, I'm only 4 subscribers away from 2K, so help me get there if you're checking out this live. But anyway, I briefly covered the 2006 NBA playoff collapse, where the Lakers was up 3-1, and he actually ended up losing that series in Game 7. And Kobe Bryant came out in the first half, guns blazing, very efficient actually, very aggressive. But they were down 15 going into halftime, and after halftime, the Lakers pretty much got destroyed. I think they ended up losing by 30, but Kobe Bryant only had 3 shot attempts and didn't have 1 shot attempt in the fourth quarter. So whenever he was doing that, allegedly, sorry, just checking my chat, but whenever he's doing that, allegedly, like he was sending a message to the Lakers because, Phil Jackson, he's always a big believer in moving the basketball. And I guess he felt like Kobe was sitting on the ball too much and needed to get his teammates involved. And Kobe Bryant actually tried to do that. And but also at the same time prove a point, showing them like, hey, I don't have any help. And you see what happens whenever I go with your plan. So, in my book, I do kind of label this as Kobe giving up on his team technically to prove a point. And this was kind of like not characteristic of Kobe Bryant to do, but I just think at that point he was just frustrated and it was trying to actually utilize what the coach wanted him to do with actually getting the teammates involved. But for those of y'all that know that 2006 roster, it wasn't a lot of players that could actually assist and help out, or help get anything moving outside of Kobe Bryant. So anyway, not gonna waste no time. I mean, Skap Attack, of course, he's a Lakers fan. He is a Kobe Bryant fan. I think Kobe is his favorite player, which, as you see, I got a Kobe shirt on. He's my favorite player as well. But just being a fan of basketball and knowing what took place, I think is a fair assessment to say that he might have given up on his team. So anyway, let's get back to it.
Message.
So I think Kobe at that time, and I don't want to talk for him, was proving a point.
Yeah.
Like Aaron McKee and I were sitting there on the bench, like we didn't realize it at first. And then we was like, hold up. Dude he ain't shoot, he ain't even looking.
Yeah.
And I think it is important to understand the full context of that season and series in order to fully grasp what was happening in that specific game. And that season, the Lakers absolutely stunk. Okay, well, that essentially is all the context you need. That roster was straight ass. Kobe Bryant was first team All-NBA, first team All-NBA defense, and led the league in scoring at 35.4 points per game. The second leading scorer on that team that season was Lamar Odom at 14.8 per night. Not only did that Lakers roster not have any players that season who finished anywhere near an All-Star or All-NBA designation for the year, that team's principal top 10-man rotation, that would be every player averaging.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, y'all. If anybody said anything in the chat, I'm actually just getting it loaded up now. So, you know, if anybody wants to say anything, let me know that you're here in the live if you're checking this out. I'm not on my usual setups. I don't know if anybody's here. Use this new software called Riverside. So, you know, just help me out. Let me know if you're here, if you're checking this out.
Double-digit minutes per game, never made one All-Star team or All-NBA team ever in their entire careers. The primary starting five was Kobe Bryant, Smush Parker, Lamar Odom, Kwame Brown, and Chris Mim. Brian Cook and Luke Walton were their top players off of the bench. This was arguably the worst team ever assembled in league history. Smush Parker started 82.
I agree, 100% fair, but also you gotta look at it this way. They was up 3-1, and it's kind of like the same type of you know, critique that I had with Tracy McGrady. You know, like you were up 3-1, and at that point you got to be able as a superstar to close it out. Of course, like Smush Parker, he had probably the biggest responsibility out of anybody because he had to be the one to actually take on the challenge and guard Steve Nash, which he was very aggressive. He did an excellent job at the beginning of the series in the first 4 games guarding Nash. But it's just after that, it just was a different type of aggressiveness that he just didn't have. You know, it's a little bit hesitant. You could see the change. And I think, you know, if you look at Jim Jackson's interview, like Kobe was just upset because the coaches wasn't, you know, taking care of that situation whenever they seen Smush Parker being laxed, you know, rather than, you know, get into him and say, hey, man, you know, like give me what you was giving me in the first 4 games. He just kind of sat and was chill. And that's kind of Phil Jackson's approach. You know, he kind of liked to have players dig themselves out their own graves. So, or out their own situations. So, but yeah, anyway, man, it's context to that. But, you know, that the roster was a little rough, but also at the same time, like, you know, they was up 3-1, and they were doing something right. The Phoenix Suns was one of the top teams in the league, top offensive teams in history, and they were down. So, you know, yeah, blame the roster, but also at the same time, like, do what got you to be up 3-1. But anyway, let's get back to the video.
Games this season and the next one for the LA Lakers, and he was out of the NBA altogether the following year by just the age of 26. Chris Mim also out of the league within 3 seasons of that year by the age of 29. Kobe was running around this season with dudes who weren't even actual NBA players, and they were in his starting lineup. Somehow, though, Kobe dragged that floating dumpster fire to 45 wins and a first-round date with the Phoenix Suns in the 2-7 matchup. The Suns that season, for comparison, had all-star Shawn Marion, who averaged 22 and 12 while finishing 10th in league MVP voting, 7th in Defensive Player of the Year, and making All-NBA third-team designations. They were, of course,
yeah. Also, Amari Stoudemire was hurt for majority of that season as well, though. So And also, like if you was to look at that roster back then, like they wasn't supposed to do anything. Coming off of being the number one seed in the West, you lose your player that was number one in offensive win shares, number three in PER rating. Like Amari Stoudemire was like really aggressive and really dominant as a power forward. And you didn't have that piece, and I think that probably did hurt them. That's why they, went down 3-1 in that series initially because, Amari, he was a really special player, especially whenever it came to running the pick and roll with Steve Nash. Lob threat, very skillful from the mid post area. And you don't have that weapon anymore. So, like it's a little bit more context to that. And also, like one thing I don't really appreciate here it's like, yeah, you're kind of making excuses for Kobe, which they're valid. He didn't have any weapons. A lot of players that played with Kobe during that season when they left, or when moved on to other teams and all that stuff, they were out the league. Yes, that's true. But also, what about LeBron's weapons? What weapons did he have in 2007 when they made that run to the playoffs, in the finals? What weapons did he have? Sugranas Ilgauskas? I think him and Lamar owed him about what and what. Larry Hughes, injury trouble. So it's like, yeah, a lot of the issues that Kobe Bryant had, LeBron also had. And he was actually able to drag his team to deep playoff runs. At that point, he didn't have a first round exit, getting past the Washington Wizards and, running to the Detroit Pistons and, what that was, 2006, 2007 ended up beating the Pistons. 2008 ran up against the Boston Celtics. Then after that, 2009 Orlando Magic. Then after that, Celtics again. So it's like he was running against some tough squads with little to no help whatsoever. And when he did get help, those players was kind of past their prime. So, we got to have that same type of grace for LeBron that you're having for Kobe, which is valid. If you look at the Lakers compared to the Phoenix Suns, even without Amari, it shouldn't even have been close. It shouldn't even win 7 games. But, that shows you the type of impact that special players have on a team. And also, whenever you have a team down 3-1, you got to be able to finish that. So, that's just, it's only right and it's only fair, man. But anyway, go ahead and get back to the reaction, man. Bear with me. Just trying to go back and forth here.
Of course, led by first-team All-NBA point guard Steve Nash, who somehow stole that season's league MVP from Kobe Bryant. They had also
LeBron was actually number 2 in voting that year. Even though I personally think it should have been Kobe. Worst team. They also didn't make the playoffs the year before, and now you're in the playoffs. You take away Kobe, what is that team? Probably a 17-win team. So you definitely have I didn't check the win shares for that year. I might have to look into that. But, Kobe was definitely the only reason why that team was doing anything or making any type of playoff run or actually even was the number 7 seed. So, that's fair. But also, like the actual voting was Nash 1, LeBron 2, Dirk 3, Kobe 4. So, if anybody was robbed, LeBron was robbed. But hey, I know people will come for me in the comments talking about, oh, man, you're LeBron that, and you're a LeBron fan. You're always defending LeBron. You work for Clutch Sports. But, that's the actual data, So if you're number 2, technically you got robbed, even though, Steve Nash probably did deserve it that year. I know I said that in previous videos, but he probably actually did deserve it. But anyway, we'll get back to it.
Stole that season's league MVP from Kobe Bryant. They had also that year's most improved player of the year, Boris Diaw, 15-point-per-game scorer and defensive specialist, Raja Bell, and Leandro Barbosa, Tim Thomas, and Eddie House coming off of the bench. And yet the Lakers somehow, some way, went up 3-1 in that series.
Mm-hmm.
And look, when I say somehow, I of course mean Kobe Bean Bryant. who hit the game-tying shot in Game 4 to send the game into overtime, then hit this legendary game winner in overtime to stun the Suns and move the Lakers within an improbable one game from advancement. Of course, you know the Suns would win at home in Game 5 to stave off elimination before coming back to Los Angeles in Game 6 in Staples Center, where Kobe Bryant would do literally everything in his powers to end that series. I mean, look at this freaking shot. Down 2 with under 2 to play in the fourth. Then here we are with under 30 seconds to play in the fourth, with the Lakers up 1, and Kobe would put them up 3. And for all intents and purposes, the series should have ended right here, as Steve Nash missed a wide-ass open three-point shot in the corner with 13 seconds remaining. The Lakers, though, could not corral the rebound. Sean Marion kicked it out to Tim Thomas, and he hit the game tire to send it into overtime. An overtime session, which saw Kobe Bryant score 12 points on 5 of 7 from the field, while the remainder of his Lakers teammates combined to score 1 total point, a single free throw by Devin George. So the Suns would ultimately prevail in that game, tying the series 3-3 despite 50 by Kobe Bryant. 50 points on 20 of 35 shooting from the field in 52 minutes. And that brings us to Game 7 in Phoenix.
And also, like, not gonna lie, like, pretty efficient numbers also. Like, on pretty efficient shooting splits. So, yeah, I mean, that could be demoralizing to a team if you're that close to winning, and we're really, I wouldn't even say for the team, for Kobe Bryant, you putting up 50 points and you're doing everything you can, you're hitting big shots in the final moments, and it's like, man, like what more can you do? What more can you possibly provide? Like I can see how it'll be frustrating and you'll want to give up in a Game 7. And also, like to add context to that, though, they were down 15, and he wasn't going to be able to do it by himself. Even though he did a couple times during that season, he outscored the Dallas Mavericks in 3 quarters. He had 82 points, so I'm sorry, 81 points. But yeah, I mean, it's just, they were just so used to Kobe being superhuman and being able to single-handedly will his team to victory. And, that just ran out, whenever it came to Game 7. Game 7 was impossible to win in Phoenix. That series had to be won in Game 6 if they had any chance of moving on. So, anyway, let's go ahead and get back to reaction, though. All right.
Game where Kobe quit, allegedly, and just stopped trying in the second half. Let's look at the first half of that game, though, when Kobe scored 23 points on 8 of 13 shooting from the field, good for 61.5%. The entirety of his team, meanwhile, combined to score just 22 points on 9 of 30 shooting, or just 30%. And amid that full-scale no-show by his teammates, the Lakers were down 60-45 at half, while that lead would swiftly swell to 21 points within the first 3 minutes of the third quarter, and the game was over at that point. It floated around 20 for the next few minutes before exploding to 25 by the 3-minute mark of the third. And yet we have revisionist scrubs and liars out here saying Kobe quit. His team is the one that quit. His whole damn team quit on him. No, check that. His team didn't quit at all. They were merely playing up to their potential. It was his organization that quit when they surrounded him with that filth. No all-time great player ever has been surrounded with so little in their primes. In fact, it isn't even close. And finally, after another year and a half of suffering through that garbage supporting cast, the Lakers' bumbling, inept front office.
Sorry, y'all. Just seeing how everything looked in YouTube with Riverside, because I don't really get like a good preview of how it actually looks. So, anybody that's checking this out, let me know how it looks.
At long last, got Kobe Bryant one fringe all-star in Pau Gasol. And of course, from there, Bryant dominated the league in what was perhaps the greatest playoff run in NBA history. And for more on that run, you can check this video out right now. And please do make sure you are subscribed at this time with notifications turned on to stay up to date with more from me. Until next time, guys.
Great video, Skap Attack. I do agree. I ain't gonna lie, I do agree. But also, you know, with the same type of critique that you have for the Lakers and in management with the team that they put around Kobe, you have to have that same type of critique and opinion on the teams that LeBron had prior to the decision. Because they were rough. Didn't really have a lot of key guys on that squad or those squads. Mo Williams being the second best player, fringe all star, if that's what you're gonna call Pau Gasol. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, but this is gonna wrap up the live. Just testing out Riverside, seeing how everything looks, seeing if I like it. Like I said, I'm gonna be going on a brief trip, but I still want to be able to actually get something done. Still want to have access to be able to actually create and stuff like that briefly. So just testing this out, seeing if this is going to be a good option for me. And yeah, and we'll go from there, man. But anyway, appreciate you checking out this live. If you didn't get any comments, hopefully the live did get pushed to people. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up and catch you on the next one. Peace.